All right, everybody. 1 week down, 3 losses on the ledger. You know what we're going to do here. It's overreaction, fact or fiction, 1 week into the Celtics basketball season. This is Green with Envy. You guys know the deal. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. Throwing it back, coffee and Celtic style. Go get your cup of Joe. We got some stuff to talk about here. 1 week into the NBA season. As always, this is your boy Will. We're checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Menankus. Greg, I know you got a hat on this morning. For those of you not watching on YouTube, is this to cover up your hairline? Have you not applied the appropriate spray this morning?
No, I my subscription to Beijing is actually on hold right now. So
Is there a new 741 subscription?
I like this. I like this idea that maybe 741 could get into the hair regeneration market.
The new Rover spray. Make sure you get yours now before it goes out of style.
Sprinkle some moon dust on that hairline. See what grows.
See, guys, this is what we're doing here. We're gonna find the lightness at the end of the tunnel here. We're gonna have some fun here. 1 week in to the NBA season, Greg. Not the start Celtics were looking for. 0-3 losses to the Sixers, Knicks, and Pistons yesterday. We're recording this on a Monday morning. Monday night, the Celtics are on their way, if not already in New Orleans, to take on the Pelicans in what is kind of a big game for early in the season, just to try to clear up that 3-game losing streak. But Greg, first 3-game losing streak since 2023. Been a while since we've been in this position.
Yeah, it's a new feeling, but I was talking to Danielle and she was like looking at the score of the Knicks game when it was still close. And she was like, "Oh, this is a close game." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not going to be close for long." Like, I just had this feeling that the Knicks were going to pull away. Our roster just doesn't make sense right now, man. Without Jason Tatum in there, just like plugging a lot of the holes and filling a lot of the gaps, there's just so much roster reconstruction that needs to happen. And I'm excited to talk about what the roster could look like in this game of fact or fiction that we're playing.
Yeah, so let's set this up, everybody. So we were thinking about this and we were like, listen, we could sit here and we could do a very traditional good, bad, ugly, and it's going to be a lot of bad and ugly, right? Like that's just reality. And there are some good. I don't want to act entirely doomsday, but just from, where we're coming from as a fan base, and even with the lowered expectations, 0-3 feels rough, but we'll talk about it. And so we came up with overreaction, fact or fiction. So basically, Greg, I think we talked about this before. You have about 5 or 6 things. I got about 5 or 6 things that I've got written down here as statements. We're going to go back and forth and decide whether these are fact or fiction. We may have a few things that cross over, but it will allow for us to we're going to talk about the entire week as a whole, rather than just focusing on an individual game. So why don't you go ahead and start, Greg? Maybe we can do it. You give me your fact or fiction statement. I'll tell you whether I think it's fact or fiction, or if I have a similar one, and then you can give me, your reasoning for whatever you think as well.
Okay. Hugo Gonzalez, we'll start with Hugo, will be a starter on the Celtics' next championship roster.
Oof. All right. This is very similar to one I have here. It's Ugo, by the way, just so we're gonna get it correct. Yeah. I got you. I have Hugo Gonzalez is a future full-time starter. So you just added on the next championship level team, is what you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna go fact. This is where we're overreacting here. It's 3 games in to an 82-game season, but it's funny you just said this, thinking about what this team can look like. I went to bed last night actually kind of thinking about this, because I was thinking about these different bullet points that I had. And when I start to think about what a real iteration of this team looks like, I was like, you know what? I could definitely picture in my head a starting lineup where it's Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Ugo, Jason Tatum. We got to insert 5, figure out the 5 situation. But those 4 I could totally see that. And then you move Pritchard to the bench. You have Hauser, who's in that rock steady role that you know that he's been in. He's a knockdown shooter. And, maybe Josh Minott is still in there. He's only 22, right? That's still another guy. When you look at in whatever that Anthony Simon spot comes into, I'm sure we'll talk about him at some point later, but it's an expiring contract. So I don't want to, I'm not projecting him to this team for even next year yet at this point. And so when you look at that group of, 7 guys, you feel pretty good about that, right? You got to clean up whatever the front line looks like, but you look at that group of 7, and obviously Jason Tatum being added to the mix makes a world of difference. And you project Ugo being 19 years old and what you've seen in this first week and what is the potential to be with him. And that's exciting, right? Like, that's really exciting to think about. So I'm in as a fact that Ugo will be a full-time starter and will be contributing to a winning team in the not too distant future.
Right. I guess that's the main point, right? Is what is the not too distant future? When will the Celtics be able to get back to a level of contention? Because Ugo, as you said, is 19 years old, right? So is it going to make sense for, let's just say it's next season, right? The Celtics pull off some move and they end up with a front court that's actually professional level. And we're looking at this team next year and we're like, wow, the Celtics could actually contend this year. And Ugo is going to be the starting 2. Right. And I think the big thing with Ugo, one, the energy, the defense, the deflections, all that stuff. He's playing with, Jaylen Brown after the Knicks game was like, it can't just be the Rook, right? That's what he said. Like, everyone is singing Ugo Gonzalez's praises. Stan Van Gundy was drooling. Like, you could hear the saliva dripping down his chin.
Verbal Viagra coming from Stan Van Gundy. Like, even at one point, I think it's Noah Eagle that was on the call with him. I think he this is pretty good. He was like, should I just step out for a minute so you can talk about this? Like, he dropped a good line like that. Like, Stan was going nuts. And we were down 10-15 at this point, remember? Like, this is not like, oh my God, it's a close game. It's like he's trying to keep it within shouting distance.
Yeah, and like, I texted out to it. I was texting with Phil Keefe during that game, and I texted him. I can't remember if I had texted one of the group chats we're in that I thought Ugo was going to be a starter this season. I was like, after that Knicks game, I was like, he's going to be a starter this season. And then it's the very next game, Joe puts him in there. And I kind of like this idea of Joe just being like, you know what? I don't know what this team is yet. I don't know how this roster that I've been given actually makes sense. So I'm going to try shit, right? Ugo didn't play in the first game. Maybe if he does play in the first game, he's able to put the clamps on Edgecombe or Maxey for a couple minutes, right? We saw him get the main assignment last night guarding Cade Cunningham. 17 minutes of action, and it was all covering Cade Cunningham. Ugo is a great defender. Like, I saw it in the preseason where I was like, he reminds me of Drew Holiday. Like, he really does. He's got the size of Drew. He's got the physicality of Drew. He's got the hands that are just everywhere on defense. It's just, the question is he going to have like the elite on ball instincts to kind of cut people off the way that Drew did, and that flair for the big moment that Drew did, which ultimately made him one of the greatest defenders of all time, right? But when you're projecting this team out, and the 4 that you mentioned, right, D White, Ugo, and the Jays, that is basically the same 4 that we had last year if you're just plugging in Ugo for Drew in terms of size and like defensive impact, and especially where there was a diminished Drew Holiday last season. This season, Drew Holiday is putting up good numbers for the Trailblazers, and it's like, what the hell, Drew? Where was this last year?
I know. We'll see how that pans out. But yeah, with Ugo, I think you're right. And it's more size, right? Even though Drew guards up, like,
legit 6'6".
Legit 6'6", second biggest hands in NBA history. Like, you put all that together, and even taken away from the Holiday comparison, like Ugo at 19 can handle the ball a little bit, obviously, right? Like so that's also something that he gives you that Drew had too, just another ball handler out there. And like, we'll see where the playmaking gets, because that's something these 3 games, like not having playmaking is really something that does stick out. And so we'll see where he gets to, but just with his, right now it feels like he cuts pretty well. I think from what I've seen, he crashes the boards. Like, he had a couple putbacks against that one against the Knicks where he comes crashing in from the left wing. Like, he's got really good instincts. And so on the offensive side, like, yes, the jump shot will need to come along, but keep shooting him. Like, I was thinking about this. I was like, if by the end of the year, if he continues to either start or get, 18 to 25 minutes, whatever Joe's going to end up, settling on as his typical rotation. If Ugo's out there, like, I need to see him shooting 3 to 4 threes a game. And like, I don't care if it's in the high 20s, low 30s, like that's fine. I need the reps. Like we need the reps, because then when you get to next year or 2 years from now, and maybe he's a 37% or 30 or something respectable, right? Especially when you bring back Tatum, those shots get a little bit more open, right? They give more space. And that's what you want to see from Ugo. And I feel like we the blueprint is there. Like it feels like it's there. And right now, 3 games in, that's probably the most exciting thing about this team.
And it's great because I needed something to be really excited about this season. And you always want it to be like fresh blood, right? In the past couple seasons, we were trying to talk ourselves into Jordan Walsh minutes and stuff like that. As we rightly predicted in the preseason, Ugo and Josh Minott had just outplayed Jordan Walsh, and Jordan Walsh's time as a rotation player with the Celtics is dwindling right at this point. So I'm excited for Ugo.
He's never gotten it, but the opportunity for it is dwindling.
Yeah. And Ugo he's doing everything that you want out of a role player in Boston right now. I agree with the point on needing to shoot the 3, but at the same time, I think what makes Ugo really good right now is that he's taking the right shots and he's looking for the next pass, because overall, one of the things that I'm seeing with the Celtics team, especially with a guy like Derek White, is he's playing kind of out of character and hunting shots too much. And I think overall the team is hunting too many shots, and they just need to trust the extra pass, because I haven't seen that so far this season.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's definitely an issue. All right, let me go to the next factor fiction that I got here. Anthony Simons is untradeable.
So here's what I have for my Anthony Simons factor fiction. Anthony Simons' next contract will be for less than what he makes now, and it won't be with the Boston Celtics. So I like how we're both thinking along the same lines, because man, Anthony Simons, you put him in a pick and roll situation where he gets trapped and he has to hit somebody in the short roll, that ball has no chance of getting to the guy in the short roll. Like, he had 2 of the worst short roll passes I've ever seen in my entire life in the game against the Pistons last night. One on the right side of the court near half court, one on the left side of the court near half court. And he just looks completely lost the moment there's any sort of pressure on him, especially if you're sending 2 to the ball. Like, he can shoot. He can get to his right hand and finish. He is a quote unquote certified bucket, as everyone is saying out there, but he is not a lead ball handler by any stretch of the imagination. He is pretty god awful at it. Let's just call it what it is. Anthony Simons will never be. How about this? Overreaction, factor fiction. Anthony Simons will never be a lead ball handler on a winning basketball team.
Yeah, I think that's an absolute fact. That's a definite fact. Him being untradeable, I think, is still fiction for now. It's trending.
I would agree with that.
But it's fiction for now. Him getting less of his next contract, also trending towards fact, right? Like, and also he makes $27 million, so it's like, that's likely to happen. But with Anthony Simons, you mentioned it, Greg. Like, look, I'm not enjoying this experience. So it hasn't been great. I was hoping that this would be something where I'm like, to your point, new fresh blood. This is new to us, right? Like, he played in Portland, late night games on a bad Portland team. I wasn't staying up to watch that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the early Anthony Simons, when they were still Dame, it's like, I was just like, I don't know what this is yet. And then whatever it's become, it's weird. It felt like he was a guy who was looked at on the fringes of, oh, he's in a Tyler Hero, CJ McCollum type mold, Jordan Poole type mold. Yeah. Like, maybe if you get him in the right situation, he'll put up numbers and he can help. Or that's an insult to those guys. Like, I don't like, those guys are better than Anthony Simons from what I've seen so far. Like, Simons, he's not even awful. Close. Yeah. Like Tyler Hero and CJ McCollum can dribble the basketball. Like, they can make reads and passes. They're not going to be exceptional, but like, Tyler Hero made the All-Star game last year. CJ McCollum's been a fringe All-Star, or was for a solid portion, of his career. Not seeing that with Anthony Simons. To your point, to give him a little bit of credit, I feel like once or twice a game, I do see like, oh, this is why people like Anthony Simons. He just, got downhill to the rim and, made a play, usually to the right side, like you said. You can see when he gets hot, he can heat up pretty quickly, shooting the ball. So there are some things that you see that
and he's trying on defense. I'll give him credit. He's trying on defense.
Few IQ mistakes, but yes, he is trying on defense. He's working. So you're liking that. So the little bit of bail that I will throw him here, and this is where I think it gets into the Joe Mazzulla side of things. Well, it's two-part, I guess. One is I think we were wrong in our expectation of once we heard, hey, this is a track meet team. Cool. Maybe let's look at the profile of the team. This should fit a guy who's athletic, a guy who can shoot, a guy who we at the time thought could dribble a little better than he actually could. And we were like, this, you have Simons is going to be your second or third leading scorer. Like, cool, this is going to fit. Doesn't seem to fit. He really only seems to function in the half court. And even then, it's like it's only self-sufficient for him, not necessarily the rest of the team.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, like if he's supposed to be your second or third leading scorer, here's his totals over the first 3 games. Sixers, 5 of 10, 13 points. Knicks, 4 of 9, 10 points. Pistons, 5 of 13, 12 points. Like if you're expecting to get 20 points out of him, Joe also has to find ways to put him in positions to get more shots because he is still one of your better offensive players. Right. And if he's getting 10, 9, 13 shots, like, and you want him to get 20, like he's got to be damn near perfect to be able to even get to that 20. So some of that is certainly on him for the faults that we've talked about with being able to play off pick and roll, handling against pressure. But I think this is where Joe needs to also find a way to put him in a better position. And he's also just, to your point of Joe figuring out his lineup, the minutes for Anthony Simons, 32 against the Sixers, 27 against the Knicks, 23 against the Pistons. That's also not helping, trying to put him in spots where he can use the skill set that he does have. So not enjoying the experience. I think the experience can be made better, but Joe's got to find a way to help that experience. And maybe that's just a learning process.
Yeah, and also you would like to at least get some idea of what Simons and Tatum could look like, because maybe with Jason Tatum on the ball and, being just 6'10" on the court, it would kind of mask some of the deficiencies of Anthony Simons and get him some more wide open shots. Because that's another thing that we're seeing out of the Celtics. Jaylen Brown also called this out in terms of the spacing with this team. Guys don't really know where they're supposed to be. Like after years and years of just like a well-oiled offensive machine with everybody in the right spots at all times, we're just not seeing that this year. So all the reads, like I want to give Jaylen Brown a break. The 7 turnovers were pretty bad against the Knicks, but there were a couple of them where you could tell he was just like expecting someone to be in a space that they weren't. And he was just like, where's the guy holding the corner when I drive? You know what I mean? Like, and it was just like little things like that. But overall, I think that this team, when you project Anthony Simons, we talked about Ugo being on the next championship contender. I don't know what it would take for Anthony Simons to be on the next iteration of the Celtics championship team, unless it was like a vet minimum that he came back on because nobody wanted him after seeing what they're seeing with the Celtics.
I mean, that's why when I was laying it out, I'm like, whatever that $27 million spot becomes, because as of right now, I don't see it being.
Well, I mean, dude, you think of like Quentin Grimes, right? I don't know exactly what he got, but I know he got like way less.
He's on the qualifying offer because he was restricted, and so it's like $6-7 million, but he'll get more next year. Presumably,
right? But if you're just like comparing those two guys, right? Grimes, who's like a gritty defender that can shoot a little bit, versus Simons, who can shoot but can't really do much else. It's like, who do you actually want to allocate funds to?
Yeah. Like Simons is just a shooter, scorer, and he's not even doing that at a high level right now. So it's been a tough watch for Anthony Simons so far. Greg, you're up next. What you got?
All right, let's go to Jaylen Brown. This isn't really an overreaction, but it's more just like something I noticed. Realizing Jaylen Brown truly is better off. Let me restart that. Realizing that Jaylen Brown truly is better off the ball will be the great silver lining from this non-Tatum stretch.
I'm gonna say fiction, only because that two things. One, that's kind of the fact right now, right? Is that he's just better off ball.
Yeah,
that's the established fact. I'm gonna say fiction because I think, much to the point that you just made, of like guys are gonna learn what spots to be in, and that's some of the Jaylen Brown turnovers, which Jaylen played awesome against the Pistons, right? But even as you said that, there was a crucial play in the fourth quarter where I feel like he tried to kick the ball out to the wing and just nobody was there. And he was just totally expecting someone to be in that.
I think it was Pritchard, yeah.
And so, I'm saying fiction because I think as the season goes on, Jaylen is going to start to figure things out. We always do this with Jalen, where it's like, I don't think he's going to get this. And eventually he usually gets it to a certain degree. Now, I don't think he's going to turn into the levels that Tatum got to as a playmaker, space, all the different things that Jason Tatum can do. I don't think he's getting there. But I do think we're going to see improvements in that. And some of that's going to have to do with the team around and eventually, hopefully, finding some sort of a rotation and people knowing their spots, their roles. So I think it's fiction because I just believe in Jalen's ability to show growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. When you look at the way that Jalen was utilized against the Pistons, and he talked about it in the post game, like they just went back to what Jalen Brown does great, right? They put him in a lot of like empty side DHO actions where he had to make like one read going to his right hand. You know what I mean? And like that's where Jalen Brown thrives. It's like operating with DHO, let's just say it's Luka Garza, right? So Luka Garza is on the left side of the court. Jalen's in the corner. He dribbles towards Jalen as Jalen lifts out of that corner for a DHO, attacks the elbow. Luka Garza is rolling to the basket, right? He knows exactly where the help is coming from. He's able to either dish it to Luka, who's going to be rolling. He can pull up at the elbow, or he can kick across to the corner, right? Like those very basic reads.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen is great at making those, and especially getting to his right hand. You're at his mercy when he's doing that, right? He can just like do anything he wants, and that's where like I kind of want the Celtics to just say, Jalen, you're great at this. Like we need the other guys to show growth where like you just be the best version that you can be at the thing you're already great at, because that's what's actually going to lead to like a sustainable NBA offense with the current team. But I hear your point is that Jalen, you know, like it's very similar to when Jason Kidd made Giannis the point guard, like early in his career. It's like, you're going to have a lot of growing pains, but eventually you look at Giannis and he's putting up like fucking 40, 20, and 10 to start the season because he can make all the reads in the book.
Stat lines are out of control across the NBA right now.
It's great.
They're just. I didn't even realize. I was scrolling my phone waiting for my coffee to be made. I was like, Austin Reeves put up 51, 11, and 9 last night. Like just every day waking up to some type of silly line. But with Jalen, like it's interesting because, and this is where, to your earlier point, or really the point of the entire podcast of this roster doesn't make a lot of sense, is it feels like Pritchard and Derek White, guys like that, are trying to do things that are not within them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also to the point that you just made, it's like, okay, let's let Jalen, who's got the highest level skill that we have on this team, to do the thing that's going to keep us, you know, at a certain floor because he's just so good at that. But then that's going to ask Derek White and Peyton Pritchard for that growth, and we're going to see some of these things that we're seeing now. And so what is the counterbalance to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the question for Joe Mazzulla and this coaching staff to try to figure out, right?
Right.
And
we're not smart enough to figure that out.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so it's a really tough balance. And I want to give JB a lot of credit because after watching the first two games, you know, especially the first game against the Sixers, we talked about it. He was very in control, but he didn't insert himself when he needed to. He inserted himself from the beginning of that Pistons game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this team needs that. To my point of a second ago, just like stat lines are out of control. Like Jalen needed a stat line that joined the party with the out of control stat lines. Because when you look at this team, that's how this team is going to, you know, is going to contend with any team on a nightly basis. Like he, to a degree, needs to go to that Giannis mode. He's not going to get to Giannis level, but, you know, I was watching the Cavs and Bucks last night, like towards the second half, like it's Giannis doing everything. Like, and he kept them in that game. Like games when the Celtics are playing the Sixers, who, you know, then we'll see them on Friday night, but even the Pelicans tonight, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen in that game. Like they don't really have, like, I haven't checked their injury report, but they don't really have like a traditional center that should scare you, right? Like Jalen Brown needs to insert himself in the beginning of this game, and we'll see if he plays back-to-back coming off the hammy and everything. But like, this is a game where it's like you need to have your fingerprints all over it if this team is going to win. And so I like that Jalen Brown did that against Detroit. Obviously didn't result in the win because there's other issues that we'll talk about. But I think that version of Jaylen Brown, and maybe this gets back to the original point here, he just needs to do the things that he's really good at to give this team a chance and see if the others can kind of step up their game and grow.
What you got next?
Yeah, I have a Jaylen Brown one, but I'm going to skip that one for right now. Let's just go to the one that I'm sure people thought we'd probably start with. Celtics should go in full tank mode. It's time. 3 games in. It's 0-3. We've got Darren Peterson. We've got AJ DeBanza. We've got Cameron Boozer, who put up a 24-point, 23 rebound. How nice does 23 rebounds sound, Greg? Can we get 23 rebounds in the mix? I don't know, man.
And maybe
what do you think?
if we get Cam Boozer on the team, his dad Carlos, that is the Boozer.
Carlos Boozer, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He can give Jaylen Brown some tips on how not to be so obvious with the Beijing.
I don't know if he can give him tips about not being obvious. He's the king of obvious. He was the first one that everyone went nuts.
But he got clowned for it to the point where he had to adjust.
That's true. So maybe there's a brewing collaboration there. Boozer times 741. We can get Sam Adams in the mix. Boozer 741. It's a drink.
Nice.
We got a whole activation going.
Yeah,
here.
you drink this, your hair will grow back.
Yeah. There we go.
That's great. Okay, I'm gonna go fiction for now. You can't tank 3 games into a season, right? I think that there's, especially with them evening out the lottery odds to the degree that they have, there's just no reason to go full tank until you 100% see what you have with this roster. And I think the Celtics are already talent deficient enough where, like, even if they try to win, they're probably going to be roughly around the tanking spot when you get to the trade deadline, right? I think right now you need to maximize your trade assets on the roster just in case you want to make those trades, but also looking towards, as we started this podcast, with the next championship contender, who are the guys that you really want to keep on this team? Is it Ugo? Is it Josh Minott? Is it Keita, right? We haven't talked about the center position yet. Is Keita the future starting center for this team? Does he project as a backup big? Does he project as a third big? Like, where does he actually fit within an NBA big man rotation, right? So I think it's way too early to talk about tanking with the Celtics. I want to see them, Peyton Pritchard mentioned, hey, we have guys that can shoot the ball that are not shooting it to the clip that they're normally expected to shoot. Mm-hmm. My pushback to Peyton Pritchard is, yeah, but normally you have Jason Tatum to get you wide open shots, and right now we don't have Jason Tatum to get us wide open shots. And you see Peyton Pritchard forcing it or not being able to get a shot off. You see Derek White just playing completely non-Derek White type basketball through 3 games, just taking terrible shots, just terrible shots from Derek White. And I need to see this roster just mesh a little bit more and put together a stretch of 48 minutes of basketball sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it's fiction as well too, but it's going to be at the forefront of conversations constantly. Anytime this team has a losing streak and, starting the season off with 3 losses, it doesn't feel good. But Greg, let's think about it from this perspective, right? Start the season off against the Sixers, Knicks, and Pistons. Knicks, they are considered part of the inner circle of not just the East, but the NBA. Like they're top 4, 5, 6 team in the NBA. Expected loss. Pistons, team on the rise. Like that's a team that is expected to be in a guaranteed Eastern Conference playoff spot, 4 or 5, somewhere in that range. Probably a loss. The Sixers game is really where it comes down to. The Celtics this past week needed to win that game. Embiid barely out there, but barely out there. They're rolling out there with Dominic Barlow as the only big. You've got a rookie in VJ Edgecombe, and of course Tyrese Maxey's doing his thing, but they're undersized. That's the game that the Celtics needed to win. And so, yes, the Celtics are 0-3. If they score 2 more points against the Sixers and they're 1-2, it doesn't feel good, but it feels a lot better than it does right now. And I don't think we're having this discussion, but they did lose that game. And so now this discussion is more prevalent.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. And, with this team being 0-3, you look around the league at the other teams that are kind of struggling to get off to a good start. The one that we talked a lot about was the Indiana Pacers, right? Who are also 0-3. And they played great basketball in the first game against an undermanned Thunder team, but they look good. They've hung in their games. And it's just like when you lose the best player on a team, it's just hard to like immediately know how to win games. Like we've learned how to win games with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White as our like 3 best players for the past 3 years. And now we have to learn how to win games without Jason Tatum out there, and also without Kristaps Porzingis, without Al Horford, without Luke Cornett, without Drew Holiday, right? Like it's easy to say, oh, the Celtics without Jason Tatum last year, like Jaylen Brown had these numbers and the Celtics had this record. It's like, yeah, but we also still had like a really good
I
supporting
mean, that's an
cast around
entire
them.
starting 5 you just named, right? Like that's an
Yeah.
entire starting 5 that's gone.
Yeah. So it's just like not fair to be
And Luke
too
looks great in
harsh.
San Antonio, by the way.
Oh, he looks
throwing that
amazing.
out there.
It's just not fair to be too harsh on any of these guys right now because they are literally playing with an entirely new group of people and they just don't have any sort of chemistry right now.
Yeah. The one scary part that I will say is those 3 games, Sixers, Embiid out there, but not really out there. Paul George coming back, Jared McCain coming back. Knicks, Mitchell Robinson didn't play. They're probably in a different class. Pistons, we were hoping that they're in the next class, but not that far off. We'd be right on there, kind of like right behind them. No Jaden Ivey. And Celtics, this is it. This is it. There's no reinforcements coming, unless you're counting Tatum in a moonshot at the end of February, early March, which, if this keeps up, there will be no need for that. We can end that discussion sooner rather than later. Yeah. But that's the scary part, is that there are no more reinforcements. There is not, well, as soon as player X gets back, we'll feel a little bit better. Like, this is the roster, and this is going to be the roster likely for the season. And other teams are still getting whole. So while the Celtics are figuring each other out, there's other teams that they're losing to that are getting really valuable pieces back that are only going to make things harder than this first week.
All right, my next one. Let's go. This is a big one.
Oof, I like it. Let's go.
Derek White will be traded this season.
Oof, I'm gonna go Fiction. I'm going Fiction. I can't get there yet. I can't get there. It's interesting that you bring this up because, as we bring up all the time that we listen to, Bill Simmons and the Ringer crew. And I was thinking back to when they did kind of the emergency Fred VanVleet, what happens, who can fill that spot? And both Peyton Pritchard and Derek White got brought up. And the Peyton Pritchard idea, watching him struggle, I was like, maybe we could trade Peyton. We'll see what we can get back. That crossed my mind. Derek White, I haven't gotten there yet, although the haul that you can get for Derek White, I'm sure, depending on how the season goes, will look appealing, but I still believe in Derek White. Like you said, it's been very un-Derek White-like basketball, and I praised him during the Sixers in the last preseason game because I liked the mentality he's taking on. But now it's creating more and more decisions that are just so un-Derek White-like that we need kind of a course correction in some way. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how we get there. Part of it is going back to one of my other factor fictions, I think, is we have to find a way to honestly maybe slow it down a little bit so we can get Anthony Simons to score the ball more so that Derek White doesn't feel the pressure to have to make those decisions, and maybe he can set up a guy like Anthony Simons. I don't know. Again, we're not smart enough to know what these answers are. We're just throwing stuff. We're throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks, right? We're hoping that it's ready. But I don't know, but I'm not there yet. Where are you at?
I think this ties into the tanking idea, right? If we go full tank, I think Derek White will be traded. And I think that's part of it, right? Is for us to put the worst possible team out there, Derek White's not on that team. And it's also looking at just his age, right? He's 31. If we're like, you know what, this roster is this is a 3-year overhaul and not a 1-year overhaul, then you're looking at Derek White for some younger guys. Maybe we get back Jabari Smith or something like that, who can help with the rebounding. He brings more size. Tatum at the 3, Jaylen at the 2. Now we're absolutely huge. Maybe you believe in Ugo starting with that lineup. Maybe we get back a Clint Capella, a real center. I don't know what contracts are right now, just talking out loud, but there's ways that the Celtics can talk themselves into a Derek White trade. I don't want to see it by any means. I want Derek White on for the rest of his contract that we have him on. I want him on the Celtics because he does function. We know how well he can function in a tertiary or fourth option role, right? What would be, by the way, what's the fourth one? It would be quaternary?
Quadrary?
I think it'd be quaternary.
San Diegans? San Diegites?
A whale's vagina. Um, I think that's where we need Derek White, is to learn what he can learn as a number 2 option this year, but be ready to be the 3rd option once Jason Tatum comes back.
Yeah, I just, again, looking at what, and I can't see this being a 2-3 year rebuild. Not when you have the Jays, right? Like, you have to find a way to maximize and capitalize that they are in their primes. And so if you're trading Derek White, which I can't, that to me would be an off-season move. I can't see them doing that in the middle of the season. I think there's other ways that, like you said, just by playing their regulars, they might be bad enough to not have to really worry about, like, oh, we have to sit people. Like, this just might be a thing that happens naturally. And with the odds having, like you said, having leveled out, like, you don't need to trade Derek White to make yourself that bad, right? Like, you can be like, hey, cool, we'll be the 8th worst record in the NBA, and we're gonna have not that much lesser of a chance than if we were the 4th worst team because of the odds, right? Like, so it's like, cool, we'll play it out from there, see where we're at, and if we end up with the 7th pick instead of jumping up to the 4th or 3rd pick, like, that's still valuable. Like, we trust our scouting department. We can still get value there, and or we can package 7 plus maybe Pritchard and Hauser, or Pritchard and somebody else. You'll get something, right? Like, there's still going to be something you can get out of it. So I just don't think getting to the point of trading Derek White is going to make sense to me this season. I just think he makes too much sense with the Jays, and what's there, that you gotta get Jason Tatum back before you ever make that call.
Yeah, and we've seen with the Jays, right? Because they don't necessarily make each other better, just like them two. You need that connecting piece, and Derek White knows exactly how to be that connecting piece to really highlight the strengths of each of those guys.
Yeah. All right, I got one more here, and then I'll go back to you if you got one more. The Celtics will fix their rebounding issues by Christmas.
Fiction. They are last in defensive rebounding percentage right now. So, like, of all the 30 teams in the league, they are the worst for all available rebounds that are out there. They are dead last in the ability to grab those defensive rebounds.
So, hold on, real quick. I grabbed this screenshot from Keith Smith yesterday after the game against the Pistons. Detroit's last 6 possessions in their win over Boston. Possession 1, miss, offensive rebound, miss, offensive rebound, dunk for 2 points. Next possession, miss, offensive rebound, layup for 2 points. Next possession, miss, offensive rebound, layup for 2 points. Next possession, 2 free throws. Next possession, miss, offensive rebound, layup for 2 points. Next possession, miss. 6 possessions, 5 offensive rebounds, 10 points. You have it as well here pulled up on the screen. Last 2 games against the Knicks, 12 offensive rebounds combined for Karl-Anthony Towns and Josh Hart. Against the Pistons, another 12 offensive rebounds combined for Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson. It's rough out there, bro. It's rough.
It's really rough.
I don't know how it gets fixed. I really don't.
And
like, Joe can say it to the point of emphasis as much as he wants, but I don't think that fixes it.
Yeah, at some point, it's like Ausar Thompson is going up with Derek White, who's a great rebounder for his size, but he's not Ausar Thompson's size, and he doesn't have Ausar Thompson's hops. And Ausar Thompson just like jumps over and grabs the ball. It's like, what the fuck is Derek White supposed to do? He boxed him out. He did everything he was supposed to do. He just wasn't big enough, right? And this is where, with Tatum being 6'9" and the biggest guy on the court and being an awesome rebounder, like, we just don't have that extra size. We're just small out there. Peyton Pritchard was normally not in the closing lineup, right? He was normally on the bench. Drew Holiday's 6'5", right? Jason Tatum 6'9". Al Horford is one of the strongest guys in the entire league. Like, we just don't have the size. And without
AP is 7'3", Luke Cornett 7'1".
Exactly.
Like, we have 2 7-footers that could be out there as well.
Exactly. And when you think about Jalen Duren, he had all those offensive rebounds, but he also got fouled a lot going for rebounds, where they got another possession out of it that doesn't even factor in to the idea that, like, that doesn't count as an offensive rebound, but he got fouled and got to the free throw line.
13 free throws for Jalen Duren, 36 free throws, and they hit 32 of them. 36 free throws for the Pistons yesterday.
Yeah, and it's just a problem, man. Like, Keita got pushed around. Luka Garza is the most ground-bound guy in the league. And so then the second most ground-bound guy is Xavier Tillman.
Yeah, everyone has an issue. Like, Xavier Tillman and Luka, cool. They're big. They're not tall, and they're not athletic, so they just stay on the ground. Derek White, too small when you have guys like Ausar Thompson who are just that athletic. We don't really have, like, Josh Minot and Ugo are the closest to like athletes that can just kind of come in out of nowhere, but then they're also kind of like wiry framed, right? At least compared to some of these other guys. So everyone that you look at has these different faults that every team is just seeing and is going to exploit. And we don't have, Neemias Queta is the only like 7-footer that we really have, but he's got his own faults. Like it's, I gang rebound, sure, but even that, I don't know. And it's how do you correct it? Because if you're gang rebounding and every single person is crashing, that's going to slow down if you're trying to play fast. And so there's a contradiction there that you have to kind of figure out. And
when you look at
Joe Mazzulla's got a lot of work, man.
Look at the Thunder. 2 years ago, they were one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the league, and they were like, "This is a problem. We need to go get a big man." And they went and got Isaiah Hartenstein, right, who's one of the best rebounders in the league. So like, you can't just throw guys that can't rebound out there and that are undersized and expect to have a winning team. It's just not going to happen. The Thunder had to make a big change to win a championship, and they went out and did it. Right. They also have some guys that are just fucking fire hydrants with like Lou Dort and people like that. Yeah. And like SGA, J-Dub, they all play bigger than their size. Caruso plays bigger than his size. Kason Wallace plays bigger than his size. But they're also, even with that lack of size, are bigger than the Celtics' lack of size. Right. Like Peyton Pritchard is little, and he had the most rebounds in the team last night with 10 rebounds. So like even Jalen's like 6'5.5", 6'6". He's not like a 6'8" wing.
Jalen's always been a little bit of not disappointing, but underwhelming rebounder for his size and athleticism. I've always wanted him to be a little bit better on the boards than he's been in his career. That's been a long-term thing. But
yeah, we'll see how he crashes the glass and like looks at the tape, and he clearly takes things personally. So after the Knicks game, he was like, "Fuck it, I'm getting out. I'm going and getting buckets because I'm not doing this like passive shit. I'm going to be playing full steam ahead, like head down, getting to my spots." After this game against the Pistons, where we just got fucking bullied, and that's what happens against the Pistons, right? They're a team of bullies. That's what they do. We'll see how he does against Zion, right? Who the fuck is going to guard Zion tonight?
Oh
like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's we'll see. Big game Monday night in New Orleans. Greg, you got any other fact or fictions you want to get in here?
I'll just throw these out there. We don't have to really talk about them. This is more for the audience to think about. The Celtics will have a different starting backcourt by Christmas. By the end of the season, the Celtics starting five will be White, Ugo, Jays, and a center to be named.
Okay, I like that.
And then that's it. But I also have a couple stats. Celtics are 24th in net rating, 26th in assist to turnover ratio. Not great.
Okay. Yeah, not a lot that's great here for the Celtics through 3 games. Again, Silver Linings Playbook. That is going to be the theme of this season. So we'll have to see. Big week coming up here. New Orleans on Monday, the Cavs on Wednesday, and a chance at redemption on Friday against the Sixers. So we'll have prediction. Some coverage
end of the week. End of the week. What's the Celtics record?
Ooh, so I had something similar to this that I didn't want to get to. That was so one of the notes that I have here in front of me is fact or fiction. Celtics will be 5-15 after 20 games. It's the end of November.
Ooh,
and
I haven't looked at the schedule, so
I'm just gonna read it through real quick to you, just so you can hear it out here. So I mentioned this week, New Orleans, Cleveland, Philadelphia, back-to-back against Houston. Then they get Utah, Washington. Okay. Then they got Orlando, Philadelphia again, 3rd time early in the season, Memphis on a back-to-back, LA Clippers, Brooklyn Nets, Orlando Magic, Pistons again, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Cleveland Cavaliers. That's your first 20 games.
I could see 3-17 there, man.
I mean,
we need to get a win tonight. That's the thing. It's like we need to. We can't start the season 0-6. Right, we need to have a win.
Right, tonight. That's why I said tonight is such a big game because Philly. We left the door open. Embiid's going to, you would think, progress and not be the doormat that he was on opening night, and that's a real problem because the Celtics don't have anyone to guard him if he's even trying. Like a little bit. Like we have no one that can match up with him. And so you look at these other games, and it's like you better damn well win the Jazz game, win the Wizards game. There's 2 Nets games in here. So those are like 4 games that are almost like you must go 4-0. And so that's where I got to. I was like, what's the 5th win that I'm all like positive that we're going to get? And like Pelicans feel like that's got to be one. And then you got to everyone else on this list. You're surprising with a win. Like you're coming, there's not a team that you feel like you're on even level with. The Cavs, the T-Wolves. We just saw the Pistons, the Magic are supposed to be on a different level. Grizzlies, maybe. I don't know. Like they're kind of hit or miss with injury.
Let's do this. Let's make a prediction. When will the
Yep.
Celtics win their first game?
I think it's tonight. God,
Okay.
It's back to back, and I don't know if Jalen's
back to
playing.
back, dude. Back to back against like a Pelicans team that looks pretty good so far. Can you read me the schedule again, and I'll stop you when I think we get our first win.
Okay. So tonight, Pelicans. Wednesday, Cavaliers. Friday, 76ers in Philly. Saturday, back to back after the Philly game, Houston at home. Monday, Utah at home. Wednesday, Wizards at home.
Okay, stop. It's going to be either the Jazz or the Wizards. We're going to win one of those 2 games. I think we're 0-7 to start the season.
I think that's a very real possibility. It's.
I'm not trying to be a doomsday guy. I just think like you would want to win tonight, but we're in New Orleans on a back-to-back against the Pelicans team that is strong. They're a strong team, right? They're going to bully us.
I think we get the win either tonight or Friday against Philly because the Philly team is just not that
in
good.
Philly.
Like it's in Philly. I get it, but I think to your point, like Jaylen Brown can look back at the game and be like, all right, here's where I needed to do better, right? And I think he can put that a little bit on himself and make a big difference, especially if they go into that game 0-5 and he's like, nah, fuck this. We are not having Ime Udoka come back here and be like, look at you bitches. You are 0-6 laughing at us. Like, nah, I know that asshole is going to give me some shit. Like, I got to get it done. Like, not that it changes everything. You're still 1-5, but like, I got to get that 0 out of here. So I think it's either against the Pelicans. And I think if it's the Pelicans, it means they're going just so hard all in to get that win, and they're getting smoked out of the building on Wednesday against the Cavaliers. Like, I think that's one of the things that could happen. Or it's a come to Jesus moment on Friday where they just find a way to get that win. I don't know how, but they find a way to get that win is what I think. All right, let's do a really quick here. Mediocre life update, everybody's favorite segment. Cue the music.
Some very mediocre music.
It's very mediocre. Very mediocre. We're working on it here. I got one that's a little bit of a doozy, but go ahead, Greg. You go first.
You go first. Because I have 2 that I'm debating between.
Okay. So I feel like this segment is very easily going to turn into you and I just complaining about something that happened in our lives and or food. Like, because those are the 2 things that are very prevalent. But got a little bit of a neighbor situation right now.
Ooh, tell me about it.
So I've told you before, I think I've mentioned on the podcast, an issue in my neighborhood is there are just bad pet owners, and there's dogs that are like kind of like on the loose. And there's one notorious offender who lives about 3-4 houses up from me, and he's got this big ass Doberman that's just always out.
Off leash.
And I've been off leash, and I've been trying to pinpoint which houses. I've narrowed it down. It's one of 2 houses. I wasn't sure which one it is. So fast forward to last Friday, or reverse back to last Friday. And, I try to get Taco out in the morning, get him a walk, and, just get his day started. As you know, with kids, sometimes the plan doesn't go according to schedule. And so usually I try to do it before I do the daycare drop off. Just didn't happen this particular morning. I think my wife was also doing like a Pilates class. It was like, we were doing a bunch of different stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll do it when I come back. I come back from daycare. It's like 8:30, 8:40, something like that. And I see the Doberman out, and I see that there's another dog with him out. And I'm like, God damn it, there's now 2 of them. Like, and so I was just like, all right, well, Taco, I'm sorry, man. Like, I can't deal with this right now. I was going to try and like get a quick 20-minute walk in. I'll come back, start working. So I was like, all right, I'll just start working. And, I work remote, so I can like kind of like keep an eye out. Maybe I'll have a break later in the day. My office is right by one of our front windows. So these dogs are out all day. They're out all freaking day. Like, I see them up and around. They're like coming, like walking by the front of the house. And, at one point I see a dude who's walking his husky, and I see him like kind of being chased by them like almost. And I'm just like, oh, this poor fucking bastard. He's just trying to like speed walk away and not be,
Yeah,
bothered with it.
that's
And
tough.
so me and Lorena are talking about it like throughout the day. Fast forward to lunchtime, we go out, sit in the backyard, and we're just having lunch. Taco's out there running around with us, and then all of a sudden we hear him, like, we could tell like his energy change, and he runs over to the fence. And so next to my house, separate issue, it's a vacant house, but in like the fence is kind of falling apart for it, and there's like a family of kittens that is kind of like moved in there. And so all of a sudden we hear
Concrete jungle, man.
dude, it's crazy. And so we hear Taco freaking out, and then I realize like those two like dogs had gotten into the backyard next to my house, and so now they're at the fence like barking at each other. And I was like, all right, I got to end this. So I bring Taco in. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these dogs are like pissing me off. Like, I feel like I want to go say something, but I still don't even know exactly what house it is. So I'm like,
Yeah.
stay reserved. Fast forward a couple hours later, I'm getting ready to like end the workday. All of a sudden, I start hearing this barking that's like really close to the house. And I'm like, all right, these dogs are doing something out in the yard. So I'm like, all right, I got to get my shoes on. I got to go figure out what's going on. It sounds like they're really in front of my door. Open the door, come to find out they're like burrowing under my wife's car. And what I think it is I mentioned that family of kittens. Every once in a while, I come back and I see the kitten is just like chilling underneath the car, like shade, protection, whatever. So they're probably trying to get away from these fucking giant Doberman that's chasing it.
Crazy.
And so he's like getting under. I'm like, all right, fuck it. It's like, give me my shoes. I'm gonna go figure out whose house this is. So I go to one house and I ring their doorbell. They're not home, but they have like the Ring doorbell so they can like talk to me through it. And I was like, hey, excuse me, do you own a Doberman? And they're like, no, next door. That's him. I was like, oh, so you're familiar with this? They're like, yeah, that dog's always out. I'm like, yeah, it kind of sucks, doesn't it? Like, yeah, it's not great. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. So go next door. Ring the doorbell to this guy, like, hey, do you own a Doberman? This guy just goes, yeah, I do. Is he around? I'm like, yeah, dude, he's down by my house. Like, go get your dog. Like, go, like, and he's like, oh, where do you live? I'm like, I live like 3 houses down. He's like, out in my front yard. Like, can you go get him? He's like, oh, yeah, sure. So he goes in and he grabs like 2 leashes because both his dogs that are out there. So we start walking down, and like, I've already been wanting to confront this guy. So like, I'm on a scale of getting hot. I'm probably about like a 7. Like I'm not being friendly. I'm like, no, dude, this is a fucking problem. Like, you got to get better about like your dog's always out. Like, this is a problem for the neighborhood. And his only response is like, yeah, man, the fence. He just gets out. I'm like, okay, cool. You identified the problem, so you're gonna fix the fence. And he's like, I don't know. He was just like, I don't know. I was like, dude, like, you know the problem. Like, it's the fence. Like, so fix the fucking fence. I don't care what it is. Fix it. And so we're walking down the street, and then this guy is like the worst dog owner in history. We get down there, and he's like trying to call the dog over. The dog's not listening to him at all, like just not listening whatsoever. So he goes over and grabs him, and I don't think he must have ever put a leash on his dog before, because the way this man is attempting, and he also said something very weird in the moment that I had to pass up. Where he goes, yeah, man, they usually have collars, but people steal them. I was like, hold up. People are just stealing the collars off your dogs. That's what they're doing. That's what's happening.
Oh my God.
Any sense? But I was like, I don't have time to address how ludicrous of a statement that was. This dude's trying to wrap the leash around his dog. Me and Lorena's outside at this point, and we're just like, yeah, man, like, they've been out here, and like, I think he might be limping. Like, you might want to get him like checked. And he's like, oh yeah. And he's just like struggling to get this leash on. And at one point, he just goes, hey, could you help with the other one? Like, sure, this other random dog, like, will help. Me and Lorena get this leash on the dog in about 10 seconds. Like, this dog we've never met, like, in 10 seconds. I look up, this dude is like carrying his dog like fully off the ground because he couldn't get the leash on. And so then I'm like, Jesus Christ. All right. So I take the other dog, and I'm walking him up there, and I get up there, and he puts him in the house, and I'm like, all right, let's try to end this like amicable, but like, hey, man, you got to do better. So we start talking a little bit, and then Lorena comes walking up the street, and I had noticed this when we were down by her car. There was these little pieces of plastic under her car. And so she had noticed this after we left and took a picture, and there's some like tube under her car that one of the dogs, like, as they were like pawing, like, because we were nervous, like, shit, did the kitten go up into the engine to scare them? So I think the dog was pawing at something and broke off this plastic that left like this tube exposed. I don't really know enough about cars. Looked it up later. Like, basically, like, we have to go get like that tube fixed, so it shouldn't be much, but like, definitely the dog pawing at it. What left plastic on the ground. So she came up, like had a picture of it and was explaining it. And I was like, hey man, if I could, let me just get your number. So that way, like, we probably got to get this looked at. I don't know if it's going to be anything big, but just in case. So he gives me his number and we're talking. And at first he was kind of seeming like, yeah, like I have another house. Maybe I'll bring him up there, like instead of here, because I keep getting out. And then as we're walking away, I'm just like, yeah, man. So, if you could, we appreciate it just as like neighbors, like just try to keep the dog like ins for the safety of everybody and like for the dog itself too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I'll just like, I'll text you we'll see what the car looks like. I don't think it's gonna be anything bad, but I'll text you. And then he just goes, how do I know it was my dogs that did that? And that's when I fucking lost it. And I was like, you fucking kidding me, dude? And he goes, whoa, chill, bro. Are you kidding me? I was like, no, you just came down to my fucking house and saw these dogs underneath my wife's car. And you're telling me that that's not them? He's like, I don't know. I don't know if it was there or not before. And
What
like
an
Lorena
asshole.
starts like yell. Yeah. So this ended up just turning into like a yelling match on his front lawn.
Nice.
And it just kind of ended. It just ended there. And I was fired up. So fuck this dude Fabian. Don't know his last name, so I can't call him out any more than that. But this dude Fabian up the street, fuck him. Yeah, man. Shitty neighbors. They suck. That's my mediocre.
That's tough, man. And it sucks for the dogs because the dogs aren't in a good environment and they're gonna get hit by a car or they're gonna end up like biting another dog. They're gonna bite a kid and the dog's gonna have to get put down. That's what I was trying to say.
Like, even if you don't give a shit about your neighbors, like for your dog's sake, because I've seen this dog, like
you have to call animal control. You have to call
that's what I think I'm going to have to do. I don't want to, but that's what I'm probably going to have to do.
It's going to be better for the dogs.
Yeah. And like, even like a couple weeks ago, I ran into like some of my neighbors that like around the corner and they were like petting Taco and we started talking and somehow we ended up talking about that Doberman. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh yeah, it's from that guy across the street. Like they were like, I think he killed like a squirrel or something. Like they were like outside their yard. And I was like, yeah, it's so frustrating. And like, yeah, that guy doesn't really care. They were like, I think they must have talked to him at some point, and they were like, your dog's always out. And the guy's response was, yeah, but he always comes back. And then I forgot to mention this in the story when I first came to the door. That was what he told me. I was like, dude, your dogs are out. He's like, oh yeah, they usually come back. I was like, that's not the point of this at all. Like, just does not get it. So
you call animal. So here's what you do: you call animal control today. You call them today. And you complain, and you also like talk about neglect because that's like dog neglect. That's pet neglect.
Yeah, big time.
You can't let that happen. So, it's gonna be better for the dog in the long run. Fuck that guy Fabian. So we've got my guy that refusing to take blame for what happened with the car accident.
We're giving Austin a really bad rep in our mediocre life update.
Shit, man, that's tough, man. There's nothing worse than neighbors that don't have good dog etiquette, and that's something I've had to deal with a lot in my neighborhood as well. But we have an HOA, so I've been able to go to the HOA and like the HOA is taking care of it.
One of the few times where an HOA comes in very handy.
Yeah, and people have been a lot better about dogs on leashes in my neighborhood, which has been great. Okay, that went long. That was a great story. You got anything else there?
No, I'm done. I knew that was going to go long. That's why I was like, maybe if you have something quicker, go for it. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, I'll go super quick. So Halloween, obviously, right around the corner. Got our Halloween costumes picked out. We're gonna be so with James. By the way, we're getting together on Saturday. Are we also gonna be dressing up for Halloween?
Hadn't really thought about it, so circle back on that one.
Okay, circle back on it. So with James, we're going to be Winnie the Pooh character. So he's going to be Winnie the Pooh. I'm going to be Tigger, and Danielle is going to be Piglet. So that's the costume there. And then for our, if we decide to go out costume, I'm going to be Never Nude Tobias Funke, but Blue Man version. So I'm going to have a bald cap. I'm going to paint my face like a little bit of blue. I'm going to have the cutoff shorts, full Tobias. And Danielle is going to be Lindsay Bluth when she wears the like the slut t-shirt when she's trying to get Ice the bounty hunter to have sex. So that's our costume if we get the chance to do it. But the real mediocre life update, best time of year, because our freezer is stocked with chocolate right now, my guy. And as you said, like they probably end up being complaining or being food related.
Yeah.
So we've just got Snickers, we've got Twix, we've got M&Ms, we've got Reese cups. All the best Halloween candy is just sitting in our freezer right now. And Danielle and I have like probably $75 worth of candy in our house, and we're just trying every night not to eat all of it before Halloween. And this is something that about a month ago we were like, should we buy Halloween candy right now because it's on sale? And we're like, no, we're just going to eat it all. So
Yeah.
we bought it this weekend, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we have enough self-control not to eat $75 worth of candy before Friday.
Do you guys get a lot of trick-or-treaters in your neighborhood, or like was this just like an excuse to buy a lot of candy?
Well, I think a little bit of both, but I think Danielle, as an assistant principal at her school, I think she's bringing some of it to campus
Okay,
to
okay,
give
okay,
out to
that makes
kids.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, we have not bought candy yet, but also we don't get a lot of we get like 4 or 5 people that come up
Well, how
to
the hell are the kids supposed to be out when they've got loose Dobermans running around the neighborhood?
Exactly. It's Halloween every day. It's Halloween every day over here. You got to run for your life. Yeah, but yeah, candy's nice. I think we got to bring some candy to the daycare. So I'm gonna obviously pick up some extra candy, get a little Costco run later.
Yeah.
Sneak a little bit of candy in the
There you
old
go.
bag.
There you go, buddy.
Out.
Yeah.
So we'll get that. We'll get that going here.
You got to bring that pillowcase, dude. Put the candy in the pillowcase.
Right. Yeah, we were talking the other yesterday with some friends. Like, remember, like going out for Halloween was like so exciting, but then because when you live in the Northeast, it's like could potentially be like 30 degrees.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, put the jacket on. It's like, what's the point of me dressing up as the Undertaker if I have like a giant bubble jacket on, a giant, remember the Patriots ones, like all the different sports ones? Like you have that on, but you're the Undertaker. It's like, this looks stupid now. Like what? Yeah. Every Halloween costume constantly ruined by the weather.
Oh yeah, definitely. And here in Austin, it's like maybe it's too hot on Halloween.
Right. It's the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Of that problem. But we'll check in. We'll have some more updates on Halloween next week. We'll be back later this week, probably after the Cavs game on Wednesday, to check in with you guys. As always, appreciate you guys rocking with us here on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever it is that you stream your podcast. We appreciate it. Go ahead, smash that, give it 5 stars for us. Make sure you subscribe across the YouTube pages and check us out on Instagram, TikTok. Shout out to our guy Alex, who is keeping the videos pumping. We'll be back later this week. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. Try to find those silver linings, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.